and welcome to The Final Bell. It is great to have you with us for another week. We are proudly presented by GMHBA, the official health insurance partner of the Geelong Cats. We're going to dive straight into this one because to start off the podcast, I've got two people sitting next to me. First of all, welcoming my every single week partner, Meg McDonald. Meg, great to see you.
Hey, Lingy.
We're going to have to hold off on Meg's memo for just a second.
Yes.
Because we're
Yes, we will. No memo this week.
No
I'm fine. I
memo.
don't want to spoil things, but we had a chock-a block pod, and I probably wasn't as engaged in quite a great win as I should have been.
Oh, that's okay, Meg. We will forgive you. I don't know if our listeners will forgive you because they love Meg's memo, but we are changing things up a little bit. Often our guest is in segment 2 of the podcast, but we thought we'd dive straight in because we've got the head honcho, the President of the Cats, Grant McCabe, is with us. Grant, welcome, first of all.
Thank you, Lingy, and thank you, Meg. This is so exciting. I think it's one of the highlights of my year so far. I've been hanging out for you guys to invite me down for a chat, so thank you.
So we've got you to do Grant's memo or something like that?
Yeah, I think you looked a bit confused. Usually I record a voice note during the game, and my full fan comes out and I just get really supporter with it, but...
It is a wonderfully rambling piece of audio occasionally, Grant, where Meg just get the ups and downs, highs and lows within a game. Fortunately, from the weekend's game, it was just all highs. So why don't I start there really quickly, Grant? That would have just been a nice relaxing day at the MCG, wouldn't it, last Saturday? It
was a ripper, wasn't it? So you sort of see the analysis. We're talking about that this morning, the analysis that comes out of the game on Monday and just the accolades that are coming our way right now. I know that Essendon, as if you have pointed out, they've probably got their top 8 players out right now. But for us, watching Max and Bailey, just the efficiency of the ball use, it was super exciting. And I think Scratch Neil, for me, has been one of the highlights of our year, to seeing his development and his confidence right now. So it was just a joy to be there. So it's a really exciting time of the year.
I imagine. Oh, sorry, Lingy. I was just going to say, I imagine that you don't have to be as neutral and as everyone just hold their horses as the head coach, but you probably can't be as mad as a fan. You sort of have to, as president, you have to sit somewhere in between optimism and excitement and just 1 week at a time.
I have to say, I do game day have to consciously sit there and make sure I keep myself calm, because often I'm on the edge of my seat. And if I jump out and get a little bit loud, I do get some side looks from Hawk. So I do need to kind of hold it together and stop being fanboy on game day. But I'm reasonably well practiced, but I can't promise too much in the back end of the year.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, our listeners would love that. They would certainly relate to you being a fan of the Cats first and foremost. You grew up here, you barracked for the Cats your entire life. On the board since 2019, but in AGM last year, we officially moved on from Craig Drummond, who's done a wonderful job as president of the Cats, to yourself and Lindsay Sharp, also appointed as the vice president, into a new era. But I'm sure, given your relationship with so many of the board members and the work you did with Craig and Colin Carter before that, no doubt lessons learnt will continue to be in play, but also putting your own spin on things and your own feel on the club. Is that the aim?
Yeah, look, it was a real privilege to serve under both Colin Carter and Craig Drummond. They're such professionals and such they love the game so much. It was a privilege to watch them work and be part of the boards that they pulled together. And for Lindsay and I, after we got out of the AGM, we're really pinching ourselves to say, are we really president and vice president? So we're really blessed to have a strong board, and with Hawk. When you think about this club, the stability we've had two CEOs in 25 odd years, 2 coaches in the same period. Saw Wellesley downstairs before 41 years. We celebrated for him this year. So you're just blessed to be able to walk into a club that's been so successful for so long with the talent that we have around us. And Hawk's made it really easy to help me transition into this role. It's a big step up from being a director to being president, with the various responsibilities and the extent to which you're there to really support the executive. So Hawk's been fantastic. Scotty's been great. And every time I walk through football, you just sort of feel the welcome and you sort of feel the care of everybody in the club. So it's been a really, really great transition so far, really exciting for me and the rest of the board. And we're going through a period now where we need to bring some new people onto the board, and James Agar was recently appointed. Really looking forward to James coming on. He's got a big global job with BHP, but a Geelong guy lives here with his wife and his 3 boys. So no, he's going to be a great addition too.
Sounds not dissimilar to you. And before we get into more about your first 6 months, can we tell the listeners a bit about life outside of Geelong? You've been managing director at BCG for a long time now.
Yeah, I've been at BCG since 2002, and BCG is Boston Consulting Group. Has been around for 60 odd years and started in Boston, unsurprisingly, given it's BCG, and now it's a very big organisation. It's I saw recently 103 offices around the world in 53 countries, so it's a big deal, and to have been involved with that organisation for 23 years is a real privilege as well. A real values-driven organisation, one that's been part of the Australian landscape for more than 30 years as well. And for us as a firm, we've also had a lot to do with AFL. Colin Carter, when he was part of that firm, helped write what was called the Blue Book, essentially the architecture for the national competition. And over the journey, I've had the privilege of doing a bunch of little projects for the AFL Players Association, for the AFL itself, and also for the Cats before I managed to get onto the board. So there's been close ties between BCG and the AFL for a very long time.
You talk about all of that experience, both from your professional life and also with your relationship with the AFL, now with the board, now as president. No doubt you'd have a great feel and a great eye for perhaps some of the roads ahead. For our listeners, what are the big challenges we're facing? You're right, things have been incredibly stable and it's a high-quality football club with wonderful, wonderful people. But the challenges keep coming. So what are the big ones on your radar for our future?
Yeah. I was on a podcast yesterday and they were asking me about high-performance organisations, and my first reaction was it's really, really difficult to create an environment where you have a high-performance organisation, and yeah, we certainly have that down here. So at the top of it's just really thinking about how do we maintain that? How do we ensure that all of the male players, female players, and everybody in the business, we create an environment for them to be successful. And it certainly comes to the quality of the people we get down here. But it also gets to things like facilities. And I think Hock and I and the rest of the executive will talk most about how do we make the most of this incredible asset that we have as GMHBA Stadium. It's running in our second year of really having control of the full stadium, and just for us commercially, this is our core business, and we want to make sure that we have a great fan experience. We've got a fantastic experience for all of our corporate sponsors as well, and all the individuals who contribute so much to the club. So the game day experience really matters, and us commercially getting the most out of this. But the facilities it feels like it's a never-ending journey. We're talking about an indoor training facility, which many clubs already have. And creating space for 4 teams and not 2. Not so long ago we were 2 men's teams, and now we're 2 men's and 2 women's teams. So we need the facilities and space to be able to ensure that there is the right facilities to serve both. And then stepping out from that, thinking about Kardinia Park as a broader precinct, which connects us into community as well. Because after all, we are a community organisation. I'm very passionate about us, connecting to our fans, our community, and the broader Geelong region, and that's what the broader Kardinia Park precinct will be about for us. So there's a lot of hard work for us as a board and an executive to do, while at the same time making sure that our players on both men's and women's have a fantastic environment for them to be successful.
Yeah, you speak about the opportunity for the local region, and one of the highlights of this first 6 months of the year is to have had the announcement of a fixture that features 10 home games for the men here at GMHBA, and we have 6 for the first time in the women. How do you? Can you speak about the sort of economic impact on the region for those sort of opportunities?
Yeah, I think getting to 10 home games is fantastic for the club and the region, but I have to say that was one thing that we did think fairly deeply about, because we want to make sure we're also serving our fans in Melbourne and across Victoria as well. We want to. We do see ourselves as a national brand. We're very much anchored in Geelong. We've talked a lot about the analogy with like a Green Bay or a Kansas City, where you're very much anchored in your place and home, but you're also embraced by the broader Victoria and broader Australia. So it wasn't a slam dunk for us to necessarily move the game to here, but now that we've moved it, being able to make, the most of this stadium, and it does bring a lot of economic activity down between $6 and $7 million per game, so it's fantastic for Geelong. And the broadcast is also a way for us to reach our fans. So, one, we love to fill the stadium, but two, we also want to make sure it's a fantastic experience when you're watching on TV. And for us, this stadium provides all that opportunity for us to be able to, make people feel like they're part of the Cats, whether they're on TV or here in the stadium. But overall, it's been a fantastic choice for us. It's been great that the AFL's given us that opportunity to have 10 games here, and we're loving it, and we're really embracing it.
Grant, I'd love to explore the balance of the modern football club president versus the perception of the past. So if we went back to the 80s and the 70s, that a football club's president is involved in going and grabbing Polly Farmer from WA, or, let's go and watch that young Gary Ablett bloke down at Myrtleford or whatever it might be, Druin, and we'll drag him here and be part of that real football team and football department decision-making. You're talking so well about the overall health and sustainability of the football club from an economic perspective, a connection to community, the environment, the facilities, everything. So crucial to a healthy football club. How do you also balance the football playing side of it and weighing in with an opinion, and sharing a philosophy versus the actual nitty-gritty decision-making that a football club president would have done 30 or 40 years ago about, let's go get that guy. That type of balance now for the modern president.
There might still be a little bit of go get that guy when I'm chatting to Mac. But footy clubs have come a long way, haven't they? It's a serious business, as well as being crucial community football connection, if you like. And for us as a board, I think it's been a real strength of our club how we govern here, and having a board that operates in such a way that we're not dipping too deep into running the club has been a real hallmark of how we've wanted to function as a board. So we don't have directors who have portfolios. So in some clubs, they'll have a director of football, or they'll have a director who's more responsible for communications or people. For us, that can really step on the toes of the executive, and it's the executive run the club day to day. Hock is unambiguously the CEO of this organisation. So our challenge as a board, or our job as a board, is to both challenge and support the executive. And sometimes that challenge will go a bit harder on some topics than others. But when it comes to sort of broadly football, it is important that we understand the core business. And one thing that I've encouraged all of our directors to do this year is make sure that we are, a bit more present down in the rooms. I don't think it's always been the case that we've sort of hung out down there, and we certainly don't want to get in the way, but we do need to be attached to and understand the dynamics in football. So Mac in particular is really thoughtful, really helpful in the way that he communicates what's happening in football. So we do feel really connected, again, without getting in the way. And from time to time, there are topics where we're talking about a given player or changes in how we want to structure around coaching or the football department, the mental health aspects of the football department. So we do have those conversations where Mac will typically lead those with Hock. But again, it's us just maintaining the right distance so we're not getting into a position where we're stepping on the toes of the folks who are here to actually run the club.
One of your contributions throughout your time has been the acquisition of the AFLW licence, and I know you've guided the AFL and both this football club in expanding our influence in women's football. Are you able to speak to how you contributed? Excuse me, I'm getting emotional thinking about women's football to that process.
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier that through BCG I've been involved in a few projects in both the AFL and also the club, and we had a small team helping to think through, firstly, should we even go after an AFLW licence? We answered that question, I think, in about the first couple of hours, but over the course of 5 or 6 weeks we were pulling together the first application for an AFLW licence for the Cats, and that was one of the more rewarding pieces of work that I had done, or the team at BCG that we were working with had done, I've got 2 daughters. I grew up with 2 sisters, and just giving that opportunity for girls and women to be able to play the game. And despite the early nervousness around whether it would take off, I mean, goodness, just look at the level of participation, the number of girls and young women who are taking up the game. We can't find enough ovals in many parts of Australia to play. And so for us, it's been, a source of real pride. And you'll know that Hock, I think, is one of the strongest supporters I've seen in the game for AFLW, and the investment we've had recently in the facilities for women, the change rooms, the parents' room, and so on. Again, a real source of pride for the current executive and the current board. So, we're all in. And as I said, that experience of being part of writing that initial application is something that I'm really proud of.
It certainly is exciting. We've got a million questions. We could keep you here all day. We won't do it because we do have to move on. But I've got to ask one more for the remainder of this season, turning our attention back to the current season that we are in. You'd have to be excited and incredibly pleased, obviously, with the first half of the season. But is the excitement building? Are the nerves building? How are you at the midpoint of the season with the way that this current AFL season is tracking?
Yeah, I don't say the nerves are building, but this excitement certainly is. I mean, just how privileged are we to be Cats supporters? Again, on the back of the success we've had, but just to keep contending and keep watching these young players come through. I mentioned Scratch Neil, but there's so many young players. I think 8 or 9 that are less than 50 games this year. That gets a little bit lost in media, just on how young many aspects of the team are. And was downstairs before, as I said, ran into Wellesley and was talking about the players in the VFL who we're hoping to give an opportunity to like George Stevens and others who are playing well down there. So for me, it's really exciting in some respects. It still amazes me that we can contend year on year. But as I said, just a privilege to be a Cats supporter, and I'm enjoying the ride as well as enjoying the role that I'm playing for the club.
I'll chime in with one last one of my own, just to bring the immediate future even more immediate this weekend, this Friday night, an exciting game down at the Cattery against the reigning premiers. But speaking about the influence of can we go and get that player? We've got 2 players who we've gone and got who are having milestones this weekend. One is well publicised, 350 for the skipper, incredible achievement, and it's actually the 100th game for Tyson Stengel as well. A comment on those 2.
Paddy has, I think, become an incredible captain for us, and he's really put his own personality and stamp on the group and the team. Kind of gotten to know him a little bit more over the last 6 to 12 months, and it's been a real joy to see his style. He's a very relaxed kind of guy, but also incredibly generous. And sometimes what gets lost, and when we talk about his 350 games, is his contribution to the broader game. He put an enormous amount of time, effort and thought into the AFLPA in his time as president, and he still cares deeply about players and the PA and the role that it plays. I think those sorts of contributions really are enduring for the competition. And watching him play now, the sort of burst play he's got in the forward line, the last time I saw that was one of my favourite players in Gary Ablett Sr. in the way that he goes about it. So I'd certainly hope he's around for many more games, hopefully a couple more seasons, see what we can do to sort of keep him focused and together and the body in the right place. But it's been an amazing career. He's one of our greats. He's one of the game's greats. And again, the contribution he's made right across the competition, I think is really incredibly admirable and something we all should be celebrating. Tyson, just watching him last weekend, how great is it to have someone like that? Such an exciting machine.
He's in some form.
Yeah.
Goodness me. I mean, just the talent to be able to kick some of the goals that he kicks is just remarkable, and an incredible success story since coming to us and playing in a premiership in his first year, but hitting the sort of form that he's been hitting right now. It's been a joy. So he's one of the guys who makes me certainly jump out of my seat and makes me catch my breath and sit back down, remembering I'm meant to be the president and being pretty calm. But he's great in seeing how he's bringing others into the game as well. So really looking forward to seeing both play this weekend.
I reckon you're allowed to jump out of your seat whenever Tyson
Yeah.
gets involved. He's in incredible form. We are going to talk all about that game, obviously from Saturday, and then look forward to Friday night's game as well. I reckon George Stevens might even get a mention in the rest of this podcast too, given the VFL form he is currently in at the moment. But Grant, you've been incredibly generous with your time, your busy schedules. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. Enjoy the rest of season 2025.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
Winning a three-peat isn't easy, but at GMHBA Health Insurance, that's exactly what we've done. By winning the 2024 CanStar Outstanding Value Hospital Cover in Victoria 3 years running.
GMHBA have been caring for the Geelong community since 1934 and are proud supporters of the mighty Geelong Cats. Join at gmhba.com.au.
All right, Meg, Grant's just headed off. Great to have the Prez in here.
The Prez. You didn't
Yes.
roll with that when he was in.
No, I nerved up.
That's what we should have done. We should
Very
have said,
formal.
now Tice likes to go by the Prez. How do you feel about that?
Are you okay to share your title? I went very formal with the introductions. No, it's great to have Grant in here and talk about the bigger picture stuff that the club is working on and the challenges into the future. We didn't touch on there. I mean, you asked him the question about the Paddy Dangerfield milestone and everything that's happening, and Tyson Stengel's milestone this weekend. We are wearing the... you're going to have to explain to this. So we're basically trying to white out GMHBA Stadium. Is that a bit of that?
We're kidding out the cattery is what I think
Kidding
we're
out the
calling
cattery.
it.
Nice.
So if you get to the game on Friday night, everyone at this football club will have been engaged in putting these beautiful T-shirts on the seat. Producer Jake's like, yeah, we will be. It's going to be a big day Friday.
You got that job as well, Jakey? Yes. Good work.
You're not coming in for a 3-hour shift?
I missed that memo. I missed Meg's memo and I missed that memo.
I know, sad times. But everyone will be
Very
kitted
cool.
out in one of these. So
Very cool.
get to the game, get your tickets, and we will have an awesome activation as part of Friday night.
It will look sensational. It's obviously a huge game against the Brisbane Lions. Reigning premiers, second versus third on the ladder.
Yep.
Massive Friday night. We will get to that. Quickly, I know this is all jumbled around for what our listeners are used to with
They can follow
guests
it.
and everything. It's
They've-
all
they've-
good because let's talk that wonderful game on Saturday afternoon, twilight, at the MCG where the Cats took apart the Bombers with a really impressive display over the course of the entire game, Meg. Just little by little, it was just Geelong in total control. Essendon, obviously, they are struggling with injuries at the moment and some players haven't played a lot of footy, a couple of debutants again. But Geelong were able to, in a really professional way, just take over the game and some great displays by some players.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you're building, that's what you want to be able to do is to start to be clinical. And I think we built into that throughout the game. And that's, I mean, you have to be if you're going to win by a margin of 95 points. And it's difficult to look at any of the lines and not point out players who had a great game. And that's they contributed all over the ground to an impressive win. But your mate Max was playing pretty well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. So I took my three boys up to the game and just had a wonderful day because it was such a beautiful day as well. We were kicking the footy in the Botanical Gardens as we were walking over and all that. Just a wonderful day. And then walking back, we were debating who do you give the 3 votes to.
Yep.
So your choices were Jeremy Cameron's kicked 6,
Yep.
Shannon Neal's kicked 5. Thank you very much. Well done, Scratch. Bailey Smith's had 40 touches.
Yeah.
And Max Holmes has had 38, I think, and about 9 billion metres gained.
Yeah.
With
and great efficiency from Max.
Yeah, with the goal. I wanted to throw in Ollie Dempsey for discussion because I just thought his impact was high. Just so many contributors. But let's say the top 4, Jez, Scratch, Bailey and Holmes. Where did you land on the best on ground? I know it's not about individuals here, but I'm just interested in goals versus possessions versus impact.
I had Jeremy Cameron for first goal kicker in our MDC team. Sorry, coffee bet. So it was great that he kicked 6, but if he could have kicked that first one, that would have been more appreciated. Look, I'm not going to lie, Ling, I was pretty relaxed at the game. So much so that I was sitting next to Claudia Gunjaka. She messaged me last night. She said, "Sorry for chewing your ear off at the game. You won't have been concentrating very much for the podcast tomorrow." I said, "True." I was very relaxed, but I mean, as I led with, I think Max was extraordinary. I mean, his ability to I know they were highlighting on some of the shows last night. His intercept possession is really high. I think it's the number one in the comp for a midfielder. So as a backliner, I love a mid that goes both ways like that. So his ability to win the ball back and then send it, as you say, a gajillion metres in the other direction is great every time. And I think his inside 50 kicks were exquisite as well a lot of the time. But I can't go past any of the ones that you say. I mean, Grant said it. We must be getting pretty excited about Scratch.
Yeah.
You know, he's
the hype, the way he's taking it at its highest point and still so strong now. It's that years of building the shoulders and that core strength to take contact but still highest point mark the ball.
Yeah, and Scotty spoke last night about the technical aspects of his kick and think that he's a very skillful, very efficient player. So that's always fantastic too. You don't have that, is he going to convert? How is he going to use the ball as a big man? He's skillful and his athleticism really stands out. So he must be, feeling
very
pretty
good about himself. Yeah. It's wonderful to see again an example of it is okay for some players to be patient in their almost apprenticeship type, for want of a better term, to building their football career, their AFL career. Some are Nick Dacos. Some explode and day one are just bang, one of the best players in the competition. A lot aren't, and that's okay. That's fine.
Okay.
And as Shannon found, he was having little runs in the ruck and he was forward and then he'd try a little burst down back, and in the VFL was playing different role, building a body, building a fitness base, building an understanding of the game, all of that over multiple years and multiple pre-seasons. To now be able to step up into this role. It is great to see. It was just an interesting debate because my boys straight away were...
The coaches went with Max.
Yeah, so I was Max. But my boys were very much Bailey Smith because they just adore him.
Yeah.
And Jezza for his 6.
Yeah, they're pretty good, aren't they? My favourite moment of the game, I reckon, was Lawson from 50.
Oh, yeah.
On the left.
On the left. So we were
Just
behind
loved it.
those goals at that end and just watching it sail through. And I thought, that might fall short because you can't get the depth perception from directly behind the goals. On his left, thought, it'll maybe touch on the goal. It just kept going.
I was behind the goals on that goal. I was like, that's a goal. That is... we probably should mention the skipper as well. I think he had 5 goal assists from inside 50. Just crazy numbers.
Tom Stewart, excellent down back.
He's back. He's back. And our fourth quarters, loving those.
Yeah, just to be able to really concentrate on what we're doing, power away from it. The only down point of the game, of course, was Sam de Koning's injury. It's just one of those unfortunate ones where it comes in low and hard, technique excellent, 2 players side by side, and just something gave, and that AC joint in the shoulder.
Have you done one of those?
No.
They look, me neither, touch wood, they look... Ouch.
Yeah,
Shoulders seem ouch.
And you just know it's sleep affecting
Oh,
and everything
yeah.
like that. So I think the club is saying 4 to 6 or 4 or 5 around that mark. So as I always say, keep an eye on the health update. So obviously Sam comes out. Someone will need to come in, or a bit of a reshuffling within the game. Mark Blitzarves went back, and as Mark Blitzarves does, fills whatever role.
No worries
perfectly.
at all.
The VFL potential people to come in. They had another win, another good win, another thrilling win. They're certainly doing it on making us sweat a little bit. 2-point victory over Werribee. Ollie Henry kicked a couple, which is really positive. Jai Clark found a heap of the footy, which I love to see, and hard tackles. And the Prez, Grant McCabe, mentioned George Stevens, 11 clearances for the game. Great sign.
You always know he's going well when every Chris Scott press conference he's getting asked, when's George getting to go, when's George getting to go, which would be great to hear as George, and tough at the same time, but he's doing what needs to be done.
He certainly is. Obviously a very tough team to break into, but hopefully he gets his opportunity. We've seen a few debutants this year. Hopefully he can be another one. Geelong VFLW unfortunately went down to North Melbourne. Looking ahead, this is our schedule. Obviously Friday night is the AFL men's game here at GMHBA Stadium. The VFL play the Brisbane Lions on Saturday here at GMHBA Stadium as well, 11:05 a.m. So you can go Friday night and then you can go Saturday. And the good news is you can also go watch some footy on Sunday because the AFLW taking on Carlton on Sunday at also 11:05 a.m. That one's up at Icon Park, which is Princess Park, isn't it?
Park, yeah.
For those old people like me.
That's the one.
Yeah, that's the one. As we mentioned, we are wearing these T-shirts for a reason, Meg, because Cats
We
fans,
love matching.
we need you to help us kid out the cattery. There's the term. I should have read ahead rather than when I introduced it. And turn Kidinia Park into a wall of white. This Friday, we do take on the reigning premiers, the Brisbane Lions, and the club will be gifting every fan in the stands a free collectible Cats T-shirt. Unite in the mighty blue and white. Now, it says here, think the NBA Finals, the NBA Finals energy meets AFL greatness. That's because Indiana Pacers have decked out their entire stands in yellow at all their home playoff games against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it looks incredible. So hopefully we can do the same with our white T-shirts on Friday night. Get your tickets to Friday night's game now and arrive early to secure your limited edition T-shirt. Go Cats. And Meg, I always throw this one to you because it's just perfect. Synergy with the AFLW.
Okay. And with the AFLW fixture now out, make sure you've got your AFLW memberships for season 2025. AFL members add-ons start at $25, so get yours now.
There's no excuse because you just want to watch football as much as you possibly can.
You do.
And the AFLW season starting
August
a little
16th.
earlier than normal, which is so good. So good. I want it to line up a little bit
earlier
more.
and earlier and
yes,
earlier.
Love
what
that.
do you think? Consolidate the bye in the men's, start AFLW then.
Yep. Bring it in line with the, I want to say, and I hesitate to use it, traditional football season, that feeling of football. I want them to line up, but that's just my opinion. So grab your AFLW members add-on because then you can go and watch as much Cats football as you possibly can. Let's take a break. Obviously, we're not going to do a guest up next because we've already had Grant McCabe on. What I'd love to do is get to a few listener questions and look towards this Friday night's huge clash against the Brisbane Lions. Winning a three-peat isn't easy, but at GMHBA Health Insurance, that's exactly what we've done. By winning the 2024 CanStar Outstanding Value Hospital Cover in Victoria 3 years running.
GMHBA have been caring for the Geelong community since 1934 and are proud supporters of the mighty Geelong Cats. Join at gmhba.com.au.
Welcome back. It is great to have you with us on To the Final Bell, proudly presented by GMHBA. Health update, I say it every single week. Do check it out via the Cats website or any of the social media avenues. Sam de Koning's obviously the big one. We know he's going to miss a period of time, hopefully only sort of 4 or 5 weeks, and he'll be back. But any other ones, check out the health update. Questions, not necessarily fan questions, just a couple of little prompting questions.
The questions that every fan wants to know the answer to. Really.
Yeah, as we look to Friday night's great game against the Brisbane Lions, second versus third, the reigning premiers, but also some wonderful milestones, as we've already touched on this podcast. So Paddy Dangerfield, the skipper, game number 350, Tyson Stengel, game number 100. Two very different footballing journeys and footballing stories, but I think equally loved here at Geelong. Producer Jake, he's
checking the highlights.
He's getting Paddy Dangerfield highlights ready for us. What was he watching there? If you could give us favourite Danger moment, what was Jakey just bringing up on his phone there?
What were you bringing up, Jakey? Possibly could have won the Norm Smith in 2022. Mm-hmm. I reckon that's not a moment, but that game, what he did that final series, I thought was pretty impressive.
Yeah, so I'm glad you said that. So that's, to me, that's mine.
Yeah, okay. I'll think of another one.
Because no, I didn't mean it like that. I think the Hawthorn game he played early on in his career, you know, those towering marks and coming out of full forward, all of that. There was some probably higher individual highs of games, but the way that he almost did less in that final series to ultimately do more was one of the most impressive things I've seen from him. His entire final series was so dominant and so incredible. And I agree, Sorry, Izzy. I thought he should have won the Norm Smith. He was best on in the prelim, and I thought he was one of, if not the best on in the qualifying. By trying to do less, almost trying to, he trusted his teammates more to be, hey, we'll work this out together and play this together. And his football in that final series was of the highest of high standards.
He's pretty incredible, isn't he? He wasn't playing for the Cats at the time, but I do on occasion go back and watch 5v Dangerfield, that game. I do love that as a highlight. But I think it says something about you as a player when you have a sort of iconic image or thing that you do on the field. And to think about him, centre clearance, breaking 50, kicking a goal, and the amount of times he's done that is, gosh, it must feel good. It must feel good to stand at centre half back and just watch him do that.
Just watch the ball go in the other direction.
Straight through the goals, reset, let's go again.
And so one of the prompt questions here, where does he sit all-time player as a Cat? And to think that his career is, it's not quite 50-50, but it's close-ish, 50-50 games with the Adelaide Crows and the Cats, says that it's hard to say if he played 350 games just at the one club. Given his resume, he is one of, if not the greatest player at that club's history. But his impact at both clubs as far as the quality of football that he played is so incredibly high. It still is in the discussion for one of the best, certainly at his time at Geelong, one of the best to have played.
Yeah, what was his first year here? It's been a while. 2016. So his 10th year at the Cats this year. Incredible. And he's contributed, as we've just said, to that what became an elusive premiership. We'd been at the top for so long, but to finally get that one over the line. And now he's moved into the role of captain and led the evolution of the team again. I mean, it's been amazing.
And I love the fact, and we've touched on this in this podcast earlier on in the season, he's also embraced the evolution of his own game. The competitor, the young Paddy Dangerfield wants to be in the middle of the ground. He just wants, put me in centre bounces, put me in wherever the ball is, I want to be there. Action. Yeah. He's had to remove himself a little bit and play as basically a permanent forward. And that can be hard, that move, I think, for such a truly great player. He's understood that, well, my chances are only going to come when all these other teammates were all working together and the ball's coming down to me, and then I influence the game. I can't keep putting myself wherever the ball happens to be. So to be patient with that and then go, right now I can influence and play as a forward, that's a really good thing, a special thing to do. And the impact he's able to have by doing that now is so exciting.
Yeah, but it's not just play as a forward, is it? It's play as a forward in a way that, particularly for the first portion of the year, people are saying one of, if not the most dangerous forwards in the comp. They're talking about another All-Australian with him there. So, I mean, to retire to a different position on the ground is something that all players would think of doing. But to do it with such success and to... they've worked out how to manage his body. I know he has times off each year with what can be, small or large hamstrings. But
that should never be seen as a negative, should it though? That's just managing of the body.
But it's managing of a body that can still move at 35 k's an hour at 35 years old. It's absolutely ridiculous the way is his speed and how he's been able to maintain it. And I think with his persona, it can probably seem like it's like anyone who is like that, the talent is just supreme, and that is true. But you can't play 350 games, the style of games that he plays, without doing everything to ensure your physical readiness.
Absolutely. And he is part of a forward line, a very exciting forward line right now that also features the other milestone man, who...
the Prez himself.
As you mentioned, is in great form right now. Tyson Stengel, a very different journey to the Cats, and one where he was given a second or third chance, but he also grabbed that chance and has made the most of it, and really feels like he's made Geelong his home and loves being part of this club and has rewarded the initial faith that was shown in him by, obviously his first season was simply unbelievable. All Australian premiership straight away, but has continued to hold that form and not just go, oh yeah, that was great, I've played some great footy and now whatever. He's still one of the most important players in the competition.
Yeah, and I've never tried to do this, but I hear that being consistent as a small forward is a very hard thing to do, and he's managed to do that. He's incredibly skillful. We were speaking to Mark Blitzarves yesterday in the women's program, and he was speaking about just his incredible football brain and his footy smarts and how he can outdo almost anyone on the field in that respect. And I'm sure they won't mind me saying I was sitting 2 rows behind Anna Scully and Eddie Betts' kids on the weekend, and they every time I'm at the game and I see them there and they've got Tyson's number and they're all just so excited. It's just awesome to see, the community's grown and the support for him everywhere. So it's great.
And I love the fact that he is, and lots of small forwards are this as well. He wants the ball. He wants to kick goals, and that's what he should feel like. That's what good small forwards do. But you can also see at times the selflessness of his play and the way that he's able to work in with Brad Close and Graham Myers and Sean Manor and obviously the Talls as well. He gets as much joy in dishing off a goal to someone else or Brad Close through all his hard work eventually gets a goal. Tyson's straight over there to celebrate with him. And I think there's an enjoyment factor in Tyson seeing others succeed as well, which is not always a common trait of small forwards across history. They want to be kicking the goals and only kicking the goals. Tyson loves putting them between the big sticks, but he loves others getting that success as well. So his way of playing is quite contagious on the field. As a fan now, just sitting back watching him run around with joy of both others' success and his own success. So it's fantastic. Hopefully Friday night we have a terrific win for those two players and all the players. It is a massive game. As I mentioned, they are the reigning champs, second versus third. With their loss last week, we jumped ahead of them by 2 points. They do have the draw. If we can find a way, Meg, to knock them off on Friday night, that would put us 6 points clear of the Brisbane Lions, and not that we're looking too far ahead because there's still a big chunk of games to go, but the importance of finishing above interstate teams in a top 4 jostle or anywhere in the top 8, it becomes crucial not having to jump on an aeroplane come September.
Yeah, I mean, the boys, I'm sure, will say anytime, anywhere, anyone, anyhow. But no, you've always got a long-term view for that, no doubt. But I think I'm excited about the sort of run that we're beginning to be on. Is that 5 in a row? And we've had some really big wins against fellow contenders in the first half of the season, but it was an amazing game against Collingwood, then we drop one, or the sort of consistency to the performance and the build is really exciting. And if we can continue that against a team like Brisbane, who themselves will be, they've dropped a few recently, so they'll be pretty motivated.
And they're a very good football team, and they will grit their teeth and say, no, okay, enough's enough. Let's go down to Geelong now.
We've beaten you already once this year.
Yep, let's grab that win and be a huge win and a really sort of stealing win for them if they can do it. So the attitudes from both teams are going to be on. And given it's a Friday night, that only adds to it because it's still the marquee slot of the footballing weekend. Jack Payne goes down for them, unfortunately. I was
looking at his numbers that they were highlighting.
Yeah, I like him as a player. He's a terrific footballer. And obviously Sam De Koning missing for the Cats. So a couple of key defenders out for both teams. But then you start looking through that Brisbane Lions midfield and there are some very, very good footballers. So that matchup in particular, we know how well Bailey, Max Holmes, Tom Atkins, et cetera, are all going for the Cats midfield. Then there's Neil and McCluggage and
McCluggage is playing well, isn't he?
Yeah, the Ashcroft brothers and all that. So that midfield matchup in particular will be fascinating to watch.
Respect.
Josh Dunkley, yes, good shout out. It'll be a great battle.
Yeah, it will. And then there's, Cameron, who is a nightmare every time we play them. So, it'll be a great game.
Great game. Let's hope the Cats have a great win. Just a reminder, get there early. Get your T-shirts that we are wearing. They'll be on your seat. Jakey will have personally put out every single one of those T-shirts. So if yours isn't there, blame Jakey. Pop them on. It will look sensational, and hopefully we can create.
And don't worry, it's going to be cold. There's plenty of room in these.
Yeah, so
put them on over the top.
I'm wearing a small, I think. Is that right? Yeah, small.
Yeah.
So this is... I know those listening can't see it, but it's quite big. So
You're a unit, so...
This would fit comfortably over my puffer jacket easily as a small. So don't worry. You can leave all your layers on, but still pop your white T-shirt on. Meg, great to see you again.
You too, Lee.
Big thanks to Grant McCabe for coming along and having a chat. Big thanks to producer Jakey for all his wonderful work that he does. We will be back.
It's a big week Milestone Week is a big week for the team. So
yes,
Jakey's doing a great job.
If you tried to do a highlight video for Danger, did it go for about 28 minutes? He capped it at 8 minutes. Yeah. That's a challenge, finding the best 8 minutes of Dangerfield. So check that one out as well. We'll be back next week. Hopefully we are talking about the Cats having just got a little buffer in second spot of the ladder and knocking off the Brisbane Lions. But thanks, mate. Great to see you.
Thanks, Lee.